Hello everyone, welcome back to another video on Elite Academy. We welcome you to our daily issue analysis Dia. So hope you all had a very good day. Hope you all utilized your day properly. And one very good quote which we posted today in our Telegram channel, which says that procrastination makes easy things hard and hard things harder. So take actions and never regret. So why I'm reading out this to you because we have completed 26 days. We started in June and we have completed June and July. Now we are stepping into August, and with this we have completed almost 26 topics in June and July, which are very important for all those who are writing mains this year and very important for all those who are watching this video for their next attempt, like 23 or 24, whenever you want to give. So you will get very good clarity and you must be getting very good understanding, holistic understanding. So I have been getting messages today. Only somebody told that for a fresher, this video is very important because we never get to know in depth about these issues when while reading the newspaper also. So that made my day. So thank you so much for all the feedbacks and make use of it. Take actions in your preparation and never regret about what if you are procrastinating, then definitely you will regret. So don't leave any scope of any regret. Okay. So okay, done with the pep talk. Now let's start our discussion for the day. So today we have taken this topic, NGOs in India and why they are in news. You must have come across this news that Parliament proceedings. They have highlighted that over 1800 NGOs FCRA license has been cancelled in 3 years. So this is the information by Government of India, and this is a news from July 26, 2022. You also must have come across this news in Indian Express. What is FCRA? The law related to NGO funding. Okay, so in this context, we are going to discuss about the NGOs in India. So the NGOs we are discussing in this context because the increasing control which is there on NGOs under FCRA and PMLA. So we have a timeline also, a brief timeline of the events that has followed recently. The first one being the FCRA Regulation Amendment Bill 2020. So this is Foreign Contribution Regulation Amendment Bill 2020. So this amended the FCRA in September 2020 and it provided for stricter requirements and regulations for NGOs to receive foreign donations. So if the whatever foreign donation was coming to NGO, now this amendment is trying to place more stricter requirements and regulation for the NGOs. So this is from September 2020. Then the other events were FCRA registration of approx nearly 6,000 NGOs was ceased to operate from January 1st, 2022 as MHA refused to renew their application. So FCRA registration of 6,000 NGOs were declined by MHA in January 2022. And the prominent names were there like Oxfam India, Missionaries of Charity, basically a Catholic religious congregation which was set up by Nobel laureate Mother Teresa. So due to some adverse inputs, their renewal process has been refused. Okay, so this is from January 2022. Also related to NGO, we have Supreme Court's judgment in April 2022 on constitutionality of FCRA Amendment 2020, which we discussed at the first point. So, stating that NGOs do not have a fundamental right to receive foreign funds, the Supreme Court found that the 2020 amendment is necessary to track the potential misuse of the funds, which might threaten the national security. So, on the name of national security, even Supreme Court is saying that it is very important to track the funds which the NGOs are getting from the uh, foreign sources, because there is a could be potential misuse of funds, so we need to track it. Okay, so in this context we have a timeline from September 2020, January 2022 and April 2022. So these are the recent events which are revolving around the NGOs in India. Now let's start our discussion related to certain statistics and issues and other things. So before we proceed to discuss statistics and other aspects of NGOs, we will discuss the amendment bill which was introduced in 2020. Few features, the major provisions, the major amendments which has been proposed in this, that we will have a quick look. So the first amendment is related to prohibition on the transfers of foreign contribution. So the amendment is talking about that there is putting a prohibition on transfer of foreign contribution, that is making subgrant, which means that foreign funders could no longer provide one large grant to any Indian organization that would further distribute these funds to other smaller and more local charities. So earlier, what was happening? One bigger grant, one large amount of large chunk of money was being donated or being given as a grant to any particular NGO, and then that particular Indian organization, Indian NGO, was distributing it further to smaller and more local charities. So there is a this amendment in this amendment bill, it is putting a prohibition on such acts. So prohibition on transfer of foreign contribution related to one large grant, that has been prohibited. It is also talking about the amendment has lowered the limit on administrative expenses. So they have lowered the limit on the use of foreign donation for administrative expenses from 50% to 20%, and it is affecting that how the larger organization used to function. So, however, the term administrative expenses has been not defined in this act. So earlier, almost 50% of the amount was foreign contribution, whatever money foreign donation was coming, it was spent on the administrative expenses, especially in case of the larger organizations. So they have lowered the limit from 50 to 20%. Also, it is talking about that the NGOs now have to open and receive the foreign funds only in a FCRA account with State Bank of India's Parliament Street branch in New Delhi. So they have to open and receive fund in a specific SBI account, and that to the SBI bank's branch is there in Parliament Street branch. So they have to open their FCRA account. So now it is, according to this amendment bill, it is compulsory for the NGOs. The next is related to greater power has been given to the officials to restrict the government officials to restrict usage of unutilized foreign contribution if they had reason to believe an NGO had violated the law. So if the government official has believed that, if they have sufficient reason to believe that the unutilized foreign contribution, like the money is being not utilized, so the power has been given to the official to restrict the usage of unutilized foreign contribution. So these were few of the prominent features. In this context, this amendment was brought, and we have seen that what Supreme Court has told, and now we will discuss other aspects of NGOs in India. Now we will discuss about the statistics related to NGOs in India. So Supreme Court in 2015 directed CBI to conduct the mapping related to registered NGOs. So according to that direction, CBI conducted the first ever exercise to map registered NGOs in India. And we know that in 2014, there was a IB report which highlighted the important irregularities in the organizations like Greenpeace India, right? So there are certain statistics. So we will have a look. So with respect to number, we have this data, that information which was collated by CBI. It discloses that India has at least 31 lakh NGOs, and around 82,000 NGOs are registered in 7 union territories. And among states, if we talk about, more than 5 lakh NGOs are there registered in Uttar Pradesh. So Uttar Pradesh tops the list, and after that Maharashtra is there, right? So however, that numbering is not important, that who is on the top, who is on the second number, but just for one understanding, we should have this data. Okay. If we analyze with respect to the compliance, then less than 10% have complied, less than 10% of the NGOs have complied with the requirement of submitting the balance sheets and income expenditure statements with the registrar of societies. So this is the status of around 30 lakh NGOs. 2.9 lakhs have only submitted the financial statement. So that is less than 10% NGOs are only submitting or complying with the requirement of balance sheet and income expenditure statement. Okay, so this is one. And not only that, even states have their own differences, variations in the law. So in Kerala, none of the, like, they have around 4 lakh NGOs have filed details, since the state law does not mandates it, so they are not disclosing it. In Maharashtra and West Bengal, only 7% of NGOs have been filing such details. So the state has poor record with respect to this compliance, because the state laws are also varying on the on such compliances. Certain states are making it mandatory, certain states are not making it mandatory. So this is one aspect. Also, few years back, when IBE report was there, so it highlighted that around 1.2 or 1.4% of NGOs only file income tax. So that is also one of the statistics. So that also highlights the poor compliance. So they need to follow the Income Tax Act, but they're not following it. Hardly 1.2%, approx 1%. So that IB report highlighted that they are paying the income tax. So this is the status. Now, when we are analyzing NGOs, we should also know about the legislations on NGOs activities. So, what are the important laws, legislations are there which are related to NGOs activity in India? So, laws in India classify the organizations working in the field of development into three categories: one as charitable trust, second as societies, and the third as Section 25 companies. So, whether they are registered as trust or society or company, the NGOs are subject to follow the Societies Registration Act of 1860 and the Income Tax Act of 1961, and the organizations who are receiving foreign funds must abide by the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of 1976 and are regulated by Ministry of Home Affairs directly. So these are the laws related to these things. If money laundering is involved, if money laundering or some issues are involved, then PMLA is also being can be used, the provisions of the PMLA. Okay, so these are the foundation legislations which are controlling the activities of the NGOs in India, be it registration or paying the income tax or the control on the FCRA, that is foreign funds. Okay, so this is with respect to legislation. In GS2, we have a very important topic related to NGOs and their role in democracy. However, whenever we are covering NGOs, then we should know their role in the democracy. So we have categorized it under following heads. So first one being related to policy advocacy functions, that is how they force, how they provide voice to the voiceless people, and how they force government to come up with new policies or to add new beneficiaries to the policies, like that. So we have these examples: MKSS. So MKSS, we know that their movement led to RTI. NAS Foundation. The NAS Foundation led to what? Right to privacy related to LGBTQ community. So they advocate the policy advocacy, or they force, or they create pressure groups for the government in order to become voice for the voiceless people. So they provide platform, voice for the deprived section of the society. Okay, so this is related to policy advocacy. They also play a role related to policy implementation. So we know that we have Akshay Patra Foundation is there, which is implementing the midday meal scheme beautifully. So they are playing role there as well. Then we have policy reforms related function. So many NGOs have been vocal with respect to the policy reform. So we have Chilika Bachao Andolan. So because of their effort, mechanized fishing in Chilika Lake was stopped. And we know with the famous one, the India Against Corruption, because of them, the Jan Lokpal Act was brought in. So policy reforms they have advocated. Then related to policy evaluation, also NGOs play very important role. So we know the Pratham NGO is there, which releases ASER report related to the status of education in India, especially in the elementary school. Then we have Center for Science and Environment is there, which reviews the policies related to environment and forest. So the long back in Delhi, they filed a PIL because of in order to highlight the issues of air pollution in India, and after that only CNG buses were introduced in Delhi, especially Delhi, not India. Okay, so uh, these are the dimensions under which we should write about the role of NGOs in democracy and the respective examples we have. So like this, you keep collecting the examples under different heads, different dimensions. Some NGOs must be working related to disaster management, like Gooj Foundation is there. Then some would be working with respect to health. Some would be working in the area of food, sanitation, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, like that. So if we have examples, then our answers will look more beautiful and it will enrich our answers. Now we shall discuss certain challenges related to NGOs. The first one being the lack of funds. So many NGOs they find it difficult to get sufficient and continuous funds whenever they are working in any particular field. However, we have CSR partnership which offers a steady income, but majority of the NGOs are excluded. And for them, gaining access to appropriate donors becomes major challenge. Okay, so this is related to fund. Next is related to absence of a strategic planning and development approach has been found with respect to the NGOs. So majority of the NGOs they are just focusing on building infrastructure or providing the services, and they're not. Few of them are only focusing on empowering the people and the institutions locally, right? So Search Foundation is there, Search NGO is there, which organizes the tribal health assemblies in Gadchiroli area. So like this, we need to empower the people and the institutions so so that they can find solutions on their own. If we are not bridging the gaps, then the NGOs will be never be able to fulfill their role. And also it has been found that most of the NGOs they don't maximize the use of the current technologies which can provide or can facilitate better communication and networking. So they are not focusing on a strategic aspect or the developmental approach. They are just busy with the mundane and routine work and than empowering. Also, it has been found that the NGOs are struggling with poor governance and networking issues. So, it causes the problem of duplication, inefficiency, conflicting strategy, and inability to learn from the experiences. Networking, if we talk about, then our Indian NGOs they hesitate to collaborate with the international non-governmental organization, that is INGOs, and they are the INGOs. They are often perceived as the threat to the mission of the local NGOs. So it that way there is no networking is happening. Okay. And the next one is related to lack of volunteerism. So social work or the voluntary work is not seen as lucrative, or it is not attracting the youth for if we talk about today in today's setup. So hardly few youth or few people from the younger generation they are joining the NGOs, and that too they are joining the NGOs who are giving them more money. Definitely, we are in a growing age, and in that young age we look for some stability, we look for some financial stability and a career progression. So definitely NGOs who are paying better, we are working with them. But to some extent there should be some idealism as well. Certain set of values should guide our behavior, where we need to contribute back to the society. Definitely money is very important component, but we should also volunteer for certain activities where we are talking about building the social capital of the country. Okay, so these are the challenges. Other set of challenges are related to misuse of fund. So we discussed that how Supreme Court is also worried about the funds which NGOs are getting from the foreign donors, and there could be an element of misuse of funds. So serious charges of misuse and misappropriation of funds has been put on the NGOs, Greenpeace, Amnesty International, and many foreign uh, local NGOs also, the who are receiving the foreign fundings. It has been observed that how those funds were used for the anti national activities, or for halting the projects, the national projects which were against the interest of the foreign donors. So it has been observed in the past, so that the foreign donors are guiding them, the NGOs, how to use the funds. Also, related to human resource, there is lack of human resource for their functioning. So according to a survey which was conducted by PRIA, that is PRIA, that is Society for Participatory Research in Asia, they found that 73.4% of NGOs have one or no paid staff. This is very important. 73.4% of NGOs have one or no paid staff. Although across the country we have 19 million person working as volunteers or paid staff at an NGO. But that is the status, that's out of them 74% are like NGOs don't have the one or no paid staff. Okay, so these are the other set of challenges. Also, poor compliance. So poor compliance, we have seen that hardly 1.2 or 1.4% of NGOs are paying income tax. We also saw that according to CBI, only 10% of NGOs are submitting their annual accounts and audit reports. So poor compliance is there. And the last one is that the NGOs are donor centric than citizen centric. So this is allegation. There are allegations of corruption. There are allegations or the criticism that the NGOs, they encourage anti-development activities, anti-national protest, like Kudan Kulam protest, allegations of civil society's involvement. So IB report also highlighted that civil society's protest led to loss of around 2 to 3% of GDP in India. So they are donor centric than citizen centric. So they mainly follow what their donor is saying. They're not focusing on what how the money or what should be the mission in order to empower the people. So these were the set of challenges which will help you in analyzing the issues or challenges related to NGOs. So keep a mix of it. Some at some places you use example, at some places you use the data which we have given, like IB data is there, CBI data is there, or the data by PRIA is there. So use these, keep a mix of it. In some points it should be example, in some points it should be data. Don't overdo with the data. Okay, now let's discuss the way forward. With respect to the way forward, the first one is related to National Policy on Voluntary Sector 2007. So in 2007, the ministers, the government of India, they approved this national policy on voluntary sector, and this was the first step in a process to evolve a new working relationship between the government and the organization. So this policy was talking about creating an enabling environment for the voluntary organization, how we can, these voluntary organizations can legitimately mobilize the resources, the local and the foreign financial resources, how to build the mutual trust, respect, and with shared responsibilities, and how to encourage the voluntary organization to adopt a transparent, accountable system of governance and management. So this national policy on voluntary sector 2007 was talking about all these things. So definitely we can rope in the ideas from there, and it should be implemented. It should provide the enabling environment. It should provide a platform for the voluntary organizations to work upon. Okay, then talk about the evolution where an independent national self-regulatory agency for voluntary sector can come up. So this will regulate the voluntary sector in general. So we scholars have suggested about this. So this is one aspect. Next can be the government officials should be also trained. There should be a training module for the government employees in order to build a constructive relation with the voluntary sector. They should not be seen as the enemy of the government. Rather, they are considered as one of the pillar of the democracy, so that they are helping the government to bridge the trust deficit or bridge the developmental gap or creating awareness about the government scheme. So there has to be a sufficient training with of the government employees where they are focusing on building constructive relations with the voluntary sector. So this has to be also done. And next is related to publishing best practices. So here the excellence should be recognized. Excellence in governance or excellence in best practices of the voluntary organization should be recognized, and such best practices should be published time to time, so that it will inspire the other NGOs, it will inspire people to work upon. And in fact, with the best practices, the evidence based policy making will also become easier. Also talk about data on social work by NGOs. So we should utilize the technology in recording the actual data of the social work. So this information will become very crucial for strategic planning and effective decision making in the process, that actually how many NGOs are working and on what kind of social work they are doing. So if we have actual data related to that, then it will increase the efficiency and effectiveness. And the last one, we should talk about attracting and retaining the young talents for social workers. Social work, it should not be mere at the level of training at the school level and college level. Rather, it should emphasize on retaining the youth in the social work. So I have seen that whenever people do any MSW, that is Master of Social Work, then they are seen with some inferiority aspect. People who are doing following a PCM in the school and colleges, or they are seen like they are superior, they are talented, they are intelligent. So we need to change the attitude aspect as well. So this is it with respect to NGOs in India. Hope you got a very good clarity, picture, data, example, analysis, and everything. And we also got to know that why we are discussing in the present context. So with this, we will end this today's discussion. And there's one important announcement. So this DIA initiative is a Monday to Friday initiative, but tomorrow we will be taking a break. Rather, I am taking a break because I want to have some personal time with my family members, because tomorrow is my birthday. So I thought like telling you guys, so that you, if you will know, then you will be not waiting for DIA. You will know that why today, it means tomorrow there is no DIA. Okay, so please bear with me, and we will again come back with a daily issue analysis on Wednesday. Okay, guys, take care and bye bye. See you all.